You know what? At this point, I don't even know what to think. Because we're hearing situations about the Canucks and their management, what it is that they want and what it is that they have and what it is that they don't want to get rid of and what they want to add. It's all up in the air, like George Clooney and Anna Kendrick. And today, I wanted to dive into some extra conversations posted by some insiders that we all happen to know and love that dive into the Vancouver Canucks and forward Brock Boeser. Is this the end of my client, the reigning, undisputed WWE heavyweight champion of the world? Kipper said earlier this morning, Nick Kyprios and Halford and Bruff, he's leaning towards the Vancouver Canucks keeping Boeser as an own rental, maybe signing him later. Playoffs are important to this ownership this year. That's one perspective. Another tweet, posted by Cam Robinson, went out there and said this: I do believe the Canucks are actively talking trade on Brock Boeser with a number of teams. But from my understanding, they haven't decided against keeping him for the playoffs. There's still a chance they meet for one last discussion as well. This one seems too tough to guess at this point. So, they could trade him, sign him, or keep him without signing him? Thanks, I had no idea, Cam says to Cam. I appreciate the insight. Thanks for following along. And this is another tweet posted by Darren Dreger earlier this morning. The Canucks continue to consider all options with Boeser. Vancouver did make an extension offer in the first half of the season that was believed to have been the 5-year, $8 million AAV deal, but it's not believed to be on the table any longer. Obviously, trade possibilities are being explored. So, before we continue on with the rest of this conversation, this show is brought to you by ExpressVPN. Go out there and check out the first link in the description to save some money in your VPN, get some free months, and support this YouTube channel all in the process. Bench Rates goes out there and replies saying this: Brock Boeser will have to move. It's a pity, of course, after what happened last year. Brock Boeser, according to Bench Rate's model, is an 80% offensive player, a 70% on-ice offensive player, a 4% defensive player, and a 63%, what does that even say at the top there? Controlled player? Contribution, that's what it says. So Brock Boeser, generally speaking, is a lot more of an individually offensive guy. His defensive metrics are really bad, according to this model, even though I think a lot of Canucks fans would say that Boeser has been one of the more, let's just say, fine-tuned defensive guys, off-puck players who wins board battles and is able to play with the proper positioning in his own zone. By no means, though, is Boeser fast on the back check or anything. He's never going to really pickpocket anybody like a Pavel Datsyuk or Elias Pettersson used to. But Brock is one of these guys that, I mean, we're seeing a lot of people going out there and saying, oh, they got to trade him, they got to make sure they get value for him, they don't lose him for nothing, they don't let him walk for free. It's interesting because 3 different NHL insiders are saying different things. Dreger is saying that everything can happen. Trade possibilities are explored. It doesn't look like the contract that Vancouver had is on the table anymore. Cam Robinson said pretty much the same thing, but he also says that from his understanding, the Canucks have not decided against keeping Boeser just for the playoffs, and keeping Boeser for the playoffs, that is essentially what Kyprios is leaning towards, the Canucks keeping Boeser as an own rental with the potential idea of signing him later. It's just, I don't really feel optimistic about that. It was talked about earlier this morning. Let's see if we can go out there and find it. But they did have a segment on Donnie and Dolly where Donnie pretty much said, here it is, they couldn't cut a deal in 8 months. How are they going to cut a deal in 5 days? It would be shocking to me if the Vancouver Canucks cut a deal with Brock Boeser in 5 days. And that is a sentiment that I think a lot of folks in this community also believe here, and now people are talking about their hypothetical trades. Great. Petey to Pittsburgh for Crosby, Boeser to Nashville for Stamkos. That's not going to happen. Good guy, but not worth 8x8. I'd stand firm at 5x8. He isn't getting any faster, that's for sure. I'm not buying it. Nyquist got a second-round pick. This is posturing from other markets wanting to devalue the return and putting pressure on Van to take a buy low deal. On Friday, you literally went on Halbro and highlighted how they have gotten many deals done with guys in 24 hours after having zero talks. Hashtag Canucks at Dollyball Sports. So, who knows, man? Who knows what exactly the outcome is going to be in this situation here. I ultimately do think that with Boeser's situation being so fluid, it's almost as hard to predict as Best Actress this year at the Oscars. We don't really know. There are legitimately 3 options as to what happens. 1, the Canucks are able to sign Boeser in the next 5 days, which does not seem to be likely. That's the Fernando Torres of it all. 2, Vancouver trades Brock Boeser, although it doesn't really seem like there are many teams that are willing to bite and commit significant assets to him. Maybe that's the Mikey Madison or whatever. And then number 3, it's like, okay, you're just keeping Boeser and you're going to let him walk to free agency because you're not able to get things figured out. I don't know. Maybe that's the Demi Moore. Who really knows? And I'm not too sure what's going to happen at this point. I want you to let me know your thoughts in the comments section. I do think that Cam's tweet is the most interesting of the bunch. They haven't decided against keeping him for the playoffs. It does open the door to most of these possibilities. Still a chance they meet for one last extension discussion, although I do not think that's possible. Tough to guess at this point, right? Let's scroll down and read some extra things here. Keeping him past the deadline as a rental and giving him all the leverage going into the offseason would be just so Vancouver. Seems short-sighted to keep him for a playoff push that may see the team not even make the playoffs. What are the chances he is kept as a rental? Rick Dollywall mentioned today buyers are reluctant to offer a first for Boeser. My guess is maybe they want the Canucks to retain. Hearing anything more about what kind of trade value Boeser has? And this is also interesting because when you think about trading away Brock Boeser, it's very apparent that Vancouver wants to be a contender and they want to continuously be competitive and they want to have a run this year. After the run they had last year, the ownership does not want to back down. They don't want to say, okay, now we can take our foot off the gas pedal. We're allowed to finish, let's say, 11th or 12th in the West. We're allowed to have a down year. This is the year to retool because guys need contracts and they're not getting signed. Management does not want to do that. Or not management, excuse me. Ownership does not seem to want to do just that. So I kind of wonder, is that really going to impact the way Vancouver's management makes their decision here? And how much is it going to do that? How much are Vancouver Canucks management people going to listen to ownership and Aquilini because Aquilini wants playoff revenue after last year? I hate to break it to you, bud, but the team's just not good enough this year. They don't even know if they're going to find themselves in the position to make a run for the Stanley Cup in 2025. So, this Brock Boeser situation, if the Canucks were just not competitive, or if the Canucks were just not so adamant on making the playoffs this year, trying to hold on to the last hope because of that wildcard spot still being available, then it would be a lot easier to say, okay, Brock, we can trade him. Fine. We don't need your services right now because our team is just not good enough. That's not our goal. But no, it is their goal. What are you going to do? The ownership wants money in the playoffs. So let me know your thoughts in the comment section below about this very interesting and diverse trade update on Vancouver Canucks forward Brock Boeser, Kyprios, Dreger, Cam Robinson, all saying a bunch of different things. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. If you had to predict what's going to happen, what is going to happen with Brock Boeser? I hope you enjoyed this video, and bye.